The Evermore podcast is now sponsored by WFST Total Compliance. WFST provides fire safety requirements UK-wide to prepare you and your employees should the worst happen. Do what you do best and visit wfst.co.uk today. Enjoy the episode. Hi everybody, welcome back to the Evermore YouTube channel. I'm never going to get tired of playing that video. The best one Mark has ever done. It's Chris back with your post-match reaction to Newcastle United's final game of this unbelievable Premier League season where we have finished fourth. That's right, fourth in the Premier League. I couldn't give a rat's ass if it were third or fourth. We're in the Champions League, as that intro video has just reminded you. We're going to hear that sweet music next year. And the lads drew today. I kind of predicted that in the preview. I thought we were going to draw. We're going to get stuck right into how we thought the game went here, talk a little bit about the key moments and some highlights as well, some real highlights as well for the future Newcastle United today, which was absolutely brilliant. It's been a mental last day in the Premier League. So massive clubs being relegated from the Premier League, which we'll touch upon as well. Just before we get stuck in, if you're new to the channel, please click that subscribe button. We'd love you to come and join us. We're actually over 3,600 subs now, so loads of room for you on the channel. Smash the button, come and join us. We are going to have a slight break from the normal podcast in the close season, but we'll have loads of transfer videos and thoughts and rants of the day, which I know you all love, coming over the summer as well. And the league will be back before we know it. We'll have pre-season. We'll have transfers to talk about, and we'll have the Champions League as well to come back and talk about in the matter of months, really. So come and join us in the comments as well. We're live tonight. We're live and alive, as George says. Gordon's alive, absolutely. Tune for Live is in the house. Good to see you. Les is there as well. We've got Vital in the house. Yeah, the new monkeys has reminded me that the Scouse Mackhams have stayed up. I'll comment on that in a minute, mate. I can't believe that. I'm devastated at that. And yeah, Spurs, no European football, Les. I know. What's Harry Kane thinking now, mate? Penny for his thoughts, or a few pennies for his thoughts. Roger's in the house as well. It is over, Roger. What a season. Absolutely brilliant. William's just slid in there as well. Good to see you too, William. So let's get stuck in then in terms of how we felt we did today, how we lined up. So there's a few changes to the lineup as we were close to a prediction. Maxi came into the front three with Miggy. It was actually Alexander Isak who started, not Callum Wilson. The midfield was an interesting one because we had no Joe Linton. Sure, Longstaff wasn't in there either. Bruno Guimaraes did play with Elliot Anderson and Anthony Gordon in there. Matty Target came in at left back. And obviously, the big one was the return of Martin Dubravka in goal. And to be fair, we started quite well. We didn't play with that level of intensity, I don't think, but it was never going to happen. It's been a long, hard season. The lads have done absolutely brilliantly well to get there, to be fair, and exert as much energy as they have done. So we weren't expecting that today, but we looked bright in the first half. I thought Maxi in particular looked really good. He was having the life of the Chelsea fullbacks. Every time he got the ball, he was running at pace, dinking inside. Now, Isak was looking up for it. Another great performance by Elliot Anderson, I thought, in midfield as well. He just seems to grow in stature every single time he plays a big game like this. Doesn't seem fazed by it. Doesn't shirk a tackle. We're seeing a different side of Elliot as well in terms of that midfield battle. He's willing to stick a leg in and get stuck in as well, which I think is only going to help develop his game going forward. So we actually took the lead as well. We took the lead, and it was brilliant to see on the 9th minute. It was just trying to think the actual timestamp there. The 9th minute. So a great ball played across. I think it was by Elliot Anderson across the face of the goal, and none other than Flash Gordon, Anthony Gordon, who looked lively again today. Nice little toe poke past the Chelsea keeper. Great to see him get his first goal for the club. We're going to see a lot more from this lad, I think, next season. Pre-season under ready. He's just had international recognition as well, which is absolutely class, as has Joe Linton, which is unbelievable for Joe Linton to get in that Brazilian squad. Well deserving. Newcastle United have 2 players in the Brazilian squad. That's how fucking mint we are right now. Drink it in, guys. Absolutely brilliant. But yeah, going back to the goal, so it was a good finish by Gordon, little toe poker. Nice run as well. Loads of space. Terrible defending by Chelsea. Chelsea can't wait for the season to be done. It's done now for them. Pochettino's got a huge job on his hands, whether he can get this lot in shape or not. Lampard just looked crestfallen the entire game. I think it was time for time to go. I don't know where Lampard's going to scuttle off to. Probably a studio, BT Sports or something, to do a bit of punditry. He's quite good on the punditry. He's clearly not very good at the management right now. So if I was Lampard, I'd take a serious break from the game. I think he really needs to do that. Just rebuild his reputation, possibly. A bit like Alan Shearer did when we went down. So you never know. Frank could get himself a nice little job on a settee somewhere. But, Eddie Howe was obviously masterminding today. Again, I thought we did all right. We had loads of chances in the first half. I think Miggy could have had about 3 or 4 today if he had his shooting boots on instead of his flip-flops. Good few chances there. Chelsea had a good few chances as well. They come back into the game on the 27th minute, which is a bit of a ropey goal by us, to be fair. It was funny enough. PK had said prior to the game that Sterling was a busted flush. After I said I would have him in a Newcastle shirt, I still would. I'd still put a cheeky bid in for Sterling. I think Sterling would add quality to us, especially in the Champions League with the experience that he's got. You can get him for quite cheap as well if Pochettino doesn't fancy him. But he tucks inside. He kind of looks like he was trying to cross it to the back post, and then it flicks off Trippier in the end and goes into the back of net, which is a bit devastating. Not the kind of goal that we concede as Newcastle United anymore, but we went into the break, obviously level, come out in the second half. Chelsea turned the screw a little bit in the second half. I think we let them play quite a bit. They nearly scored. They got a few chances, great saves by Dubravka. Just at the end of the first half, actually, Dubravka pulled off an unbelievable save. Just reminding us all what a good goalkeeper Dubravka actually still is. I don't know if he'll be here next season, though. That is a big if, because I don't think he wants to be second fiddle to Nick Pope, and Nick Pope is our number one goalkeeper, hands down, and fully deserves to be. So I would imagine that Dubravka is probably going to move on to pastures new, but that was a little reminder to anybody watching on thinking should be signed Dubravka, that he is still a very good goalkeeper. So fair play to Dubravka. I thought he played really well today. So yeah, as the kind of half went on, we huffed and we puffed a bit without any real conviction. Isak got on the ball, made a few things happen in terms of his quick feet and his skill, worrying Chelsea a little bit, but we didn't really look massively threatening in the second half as we did in the first half. But it was a really amazing moment as well. Just looking at the time that he came on. So we looked at the bench, and I'm just looking at the exact time he come on. So in the 76th minute, our youngest ever Premier League appearance happened when 17-year-old Lewis Miley come on for Elliot Anderson. And fair play to the kid, massive achievement. He's in the history books. Do you know what? He looked really cool, really calm on the ball. He didn't look like he was worried at all. Didn't look like he was sweating the occasion at all. He takes a shot as well. He keeps up with the play. Looks really box to box. Keeps up with the play, as the new monkey is saying there. He did look really good. So he keeps up with the play. Wilson's got the ball. Wilson come on as well, try and get a goal, because Eddie wasn't, going to sit there and take a draw. Eddie wanted to win, wanted to sign up for the win. Wilson just kind of taps it back to him, and he hits this lovely strike on the kind of inside of his foot. He just clips the top of the bar. I was devastated for the kid. I thought, you know what, that's going to be a hell of a way to make your appearance, mate. I think all in all, he had about 14 touches or something. Sorry, 9 touches, in 14 minutes. Did Lewis Miley. But he had like a 90%, 98% passing accuracy or something like that. So he looks a real player. And it's great to see, these young lads still getting a chance. All this talk about money, Newcastle throwing money at everything. We've got a young lad from Whitley Bay starting in midfield. We would have had a lad from North Shields playing in there had he not been, maybe injured and given a bit of an early end to his season. Dan Burns on the bench from Blythe. Yes, we're signing him back only for 13 million quid. We're bringing on a 17-year-old boy, Lewis Miley, who doesn't look out of place in that particular company. Playing with players like Bruno will help this kid grow. Training with players like Bruno will help him grow, and Joe Linton, Trippier and all these other guys, these proper pros but with better quality. I think because a lot of the years our youngsters have failed is probably because on the training pitch they were playing with kind of mediocre senior players. They weren't really learning anything. They weren't getting pulled to one side and being shown, try this, try that in the game. This is how this guy plays, keep up with it. But I think Miley looked really good. He didn't look out of place at all. It'll be interesting to see what Eddie does with him next season, whether he gets a chance, whether he gets loaned out. It all depends on who we're going to sign in the transfer market, to be fair. We might even raid some of these teams that have gone down, which we'll come on to in a minute. Just going through some of your comments there as well. We've got Andrew DB is just saying, season done, massive mission accomplished. Aware the lads, absolutely. William wasn't having Miggy. Yeah, damn his right foot. Yeah, you're right, mate. His right foot wasn't particularly great today. Not great all season, but he's had a great season, Miggy. I'm not going to run him down. Good to see you in the comments too, Kev. Sean saying really good for Gordon as well. Shut up some of the critics. I think you're right, Sean. I think Gordon was getting a little bit of stick. I wouldn't say I was, saying, oh, that's him done. I was just a little bit concerned. Is he going to be the player that we want him to be? But little cameos like that just remind you his pace, his movement, his desire. Our wingers don't normally do that. Miggy's done it this season. Max doesn't normally do that. So Gordon can give you a little bit of something different there as well. Do you know what I mean? So that's something to remind ourselves about. Yeah, Trolls, you're right. Their midfielders, both their midfielders. It's amazing, to be honest. Absolutely, mate. The fact that two lads from the northeast in there as well, and they're playing against a boy that costs 130 odd million or whatever in Fernandez, and Maya doesn't look out of place against him at all. Do you know what I mean? He's thinking, "Fuck it, bring it on, mate." And I love that. Absolutely love that about the kid. I must admit. The new monkey saying you can see Lampard getting another management job. He can't see him getting the manager job, so he's going back to being a pundit or maybe he's a coach for the kids. Yeah, do you know what? Because Frank Lampard has that gravitas in terms of what he was as a player. You might even not do a bad job in the England setup in terms of maybe coaching the under 17s or something like that. Send him back there, allow him to develop his ability as a coach with younger players. He could maybe bring forward the next Frank Lampard. You know what I mean? So. It could be a good spot for Frank Lampard. It's a good shout, mate. Vincent saying there in the comments, he really hopes we get the He's a massive upgrade on Miggy. Much as we love Miggy, he still hasn't improved his rifle after all these years at the club. Yeah, you're right, mate. And he's throwing that name in there. Guess Maddison is coming on the cheap now. Leicester have gone down. Yes, let's just talk about the teams who have gone down. So Leicester, despite beating West Ham 2-1, relegated. Leeds, battered by Spurs. I think it was 4-1 in the end. I'm just going to double check it here. Yeah, 4-1 in the end. In a way, I'm sad because I like Leeds and I've got mates who are Leeds fans. Big shout out to me pal Phil. I would say he'd be devastated, but he's been expecting it for weeks now, so it's not like he's really surprised that they've gone down. But it's a shame for Leeds because they spent so many years out of the big time. Obviously came back up under Marcelo Bielsa and they were brilliant. Couldn't defend to save their lives. The defense was as wide open as Sharon Studd's legs, I always say, would get a chuckle off die. But they were great to watch going forward. They moved Bielsa out and they've never recovered since. Getting Jesse Marshall was just a disaster. And then the Big Sam experiment. This is the bit that I'm not sad about. The Leeds have gone down. Had the Big Sam experiment worked, this shithouse would have been back in work, back in the Premier League. So I'm quite glad in a way that is not going to happen. So I hope that Leeds appoint a good manager to try and get them out of the Premier League. So get them out. There's too many competitions here. We're Champions League. Sorry, out of the Championship back into the Premier League. It's been a long day, as PK would say. So I hope that they appoint a really good, exciting young manager to do that for them. Because I think they need to do that as a club. Leeds, don't go back to old fuckers like Allardyce and guys like that, mate. No, do something fresh, do something new. Come out. Look at the guy, who got Luton promoted there. Massive congratulations to Luton. It was Rob Edwards. He got sacked by Watford, and then he's got Luton promoted. So who's laughing now? Watford. They sack managers because the day ends in a Y. But fair play to him. That's the kind of guy that Leeds need to just start again, reset, go and start again. Shares in the comments. Good to see you too. Shares. Marcus in the comments as well. Goof evening all. I'm sure that's good evening all. Mark. Fat finger syndrome there. He has corrected himself. I beg your pardon. He has corrected himself. So Andrew there saying the highlight of the day for me, Chris, was Lewis Miley getting on absolutely, mate. Yeah, he was brilliant. It's great to see that. It really is. Like I say, all this money that we've spent. It's great to see these young lads getting a chance and getting a game as well. Target needs letting go, says Tamuri Ketsbaya. We report today big changes needed in the summer. I think you're right. I mean, Target a bit rusty as well because he's not played a lot of football. But I've said this before. If you're looking at the players today, for example, Target I think is gone. I think Lascelles leaves the squad in the summer. Matt Ritchie leaves the squad in the summer. I think they'll keep Dummett because of the homegrown situation, and I think Dummett will end up retiring here and become a coach. I think maybe keep him on the books for the Champions League in case we need him for whatever reason in terms of that Champions League squad. ASM's a question mark as good as he did today. If we sign other players in the summer, a Diaby, a Maddison, from Leicester, is Maxi going to be happy? He's slipping even further in the pecking order. I really can't see that. So yeah, I do think there's a few players who have said goodbye today, but definitely one for the future is Miley. A lot of you give Miley love there, and the Williamson, because Miley's brought through the academy, he'll probably stick in the first team absolutely because he meets the UEFA requirements. I think you might be right, mate. They might play him in the cup and stuff like that because he didn't look out of place there at all, to be honest with you. So that is a great shout, William, as well. But yeah, I mean, looking at the team there, I mean, if we're going to go to the Champions League, we'll jump on and do a Champions League live stream when the draw's made. I think just so we can see who we get. But when you look at the Champions League and that step up in quality, there's a lot of players in our team that fully deserve, all the plaudits from this season. But when you put them in the Champions League against maybe a Dortmund or a Real or a Barca or something like that, they might get found out that that's just beyond their level. I'm talking about guys like Jacob Murphy. I'm talking about maybe even guys like Dan Burn. As good as Burn has been, you put him up against some of these tricky, skillful wingers in Europe with the referees that are very trigger happy with a whistle and the cards, it could be in big trouble. So I do think the key positions for us to strengthen, as we've always been saying, is left back. I think there'll be a right-foot centre back that'll come in to push Shaw for that position. We'll mention the French boy from Nice, is it Todibo, who looks fantastic. Lightning quick, really good on the ground, good with his feet. Not so good in the air, but again, that depends on the kind of team that he's playing in, the league that he's playing in. I think a number 6 or a number 4, and PK's old money, that defensive midfielder that sits in front and screens the play. We do get got at by teams because we haven't got that particular player. Because we're pressing so much forward. There's not that one player that just thinks and goes, I'm going to hang back 10 or 15 yards and just make sure that I don't get caught on the break here. We don't get caught on the break here. Maybe fill in for Trippier or something like that. I think we will sign players like that, to be fair. So it's really exciting times. In terms of the teams that have gone down, Maddison's the big one. I think there was talk today about, apparently we're already looking at him. He's never been off the radar. We wanted him before. We still want him now. Some stories about does Maddison, he fancies Spurs. Now, I'm not sure whether there's any truth in that. Maybe it's just lazy journalism, putting 2 and 2 together and making 6 because the lad, is a bit more of a southerner, so to speak. I think he came through the ranks of Coventry, to be fair. So maybe not quite right there. But why would you want to go to Spurs right now? Nobody knows who the manager's going to be. Harry Kane's future is in doubt. There's no European football, as you guys have said there as well. So James Maddison, even if he wants to go down south, he's not going to go to Spurs, because I don't think Spurs have got anything to offer James Maddison right now in his career where he wants to be. Newcastle United have got Champions League football. We've got one of the brightest, articulate, most exciting young managers to work with in football right now who improves players, and he's shown he improves players. And Eddie Howe, he's got England colleagues there, and the likes of Callum Wilson, Kieran Trippier, Nick Pope, who could tell him how great the club is. So I don't see why James Maddison wouldn't want to come to Newcastle United if Newcastle United want him. William doesn't want him. Listen, I still think he's a hell of a player there. I really do. And I think he would add to the squad. You look at the way we're playing now, I don't know where he fits in the current setup, but just because we're playing the way we are now with the players that we have, you add 2, 3, 4 really good players in that lineup next year, then you might change your formations. We might have a formation A, formation B, formation C, depending on the players that we have available. One set might lend itself to a 4-3-3. The other one might lend itself to a 4-2-3-1. Maddison sitting at 10 behind maybe 2 strikers and Isak and Wilson, or Isak and another. You just don't know. We have to trust Eddie Howe. We have to trust Ashworth. We have to trust the process. The signings have been absolutely spectacular. We can't knock them for any of them, really. They've been brilliant. So we have to trust whoever the guys bring in. Is going to be a good signing. Got a comment there from Harry. Good to see you, Harry, saying I think Miley would benefit from getting pre-season minutes and perhaps could be a fringe player next season. We will have plenty of games. You're right, mate. I think if the lad settles into games like that and doesn't become phased against World Cup winners, then I think the future's bright from Harry. So why would you loan him out? To be fair. Andy's in the comments. Good to see Andy. He did say earlier on he doesn't make it live. So good to see you, mate. Good to see you. Yeah, Kevin said he knows Tillemans was a Newcastle target. Didn't think much of him. Do you know, I've really changed my opinion on Tillemans, Kev. I used to really like Tillemans and I used to think he's a great player, right? I've watched him. I was talking to a Leicester fan mate of mine the other week, and I've watched Tillemans just down tools, completely stroll around pitches like he's playing pre-season friendlies, laughing and smiling. When his team needed him the most, when you want him to roll his sleeves up. He reminded me of Sissoko and Wijnaldum when we went down, just fucking disappeared. And that's really put me off the guy's character. He's not the kind of player that I want at this football club, just because we're Champions League now and we're in the top 4. All of a sudden he wants to come maybe and then he'll put in a few performances. But I don't think we'll go for him. I think there's a good chance, as Roger's commenting there, that we might go for the likes of Dominic Slavosly from Leipzig. As you say, he's a younger, better version than Maddison. You got to remember, though, Roger, Maddison is a very good footballer, right? Take this season out of the equation. Maddison has been one of the top performing players in the Premier League for the past 5 or 6 seasons, and he rightly so deserves to be talked about in that regard. He's had a bad season. Got to remember as well, Isak had a bad season at Real Sociedad before we signed him. Look how good he's been since we got him. So I have to trust the process. If Maddison is a player that Eddie Howe wants and Ashworth wants, then Maddison will be a player that we sign, and I think you do a good job here. I really do. Yeah, Kevin's saying that Maddison and Wilson are from Coventry and they played for Coventry. Absolutely, mate. Yeah, I did remember seeing that. So I don't think he is a son. That's just lazy press, to be honest, mate. We've got Ian's in the house. Good to see you, Ian, as well, mate. Yeah, all good, mate. Everyone is all good. But yeah, so I suppose just finishing up on the game. Kevin, nobody can pronounce. Is it Slabbersly? Slabbersly is that how you say it? Mark's really good at it. Oh, he sounds really good at it anyway. Maybe he's just faking it till he makes it, mate. But yeah, going back to the game, finish 1-1. I think that's about right. I think that's probably what we were expecting. Some highlights from the game, as I said there, Gordon's first goal, really good to see. Maxi looking sharp. Miley becoming the youngest player to represent the club in the Premier League. Dubravka reminding us all he was a good goalkeeper. But this squad will look completely different. I'm pretty certain of that next season, depending on who the backup goalkeeper is going to be. You don't know. Is Maxi going to want to move on to Pastures New? We don't know. As we said, the defense might change a little bit, might be upgraded. The midfield might be upgraded. One thing I think we're going to see next season is the better from Gordon, as we said there. I think you got to remember Bruno as well has been playing injured towards the end of the season, and I think with Bruno, his quality does drop off. He's still brilliant. That shows you how good he is. But the fact that he's been playing basically on one ankle has probably hindered Bruno's performances. Now, if we sign a player that can sit and allow Bruno to push a bit further forward, those 10 or 15 yards, same with Joe Linton as well. That's going to get the best out of those two as well. They both had phenomenal seasons. Joe Linton probably should have got more goals than he got. And I think if you have that number 6 sitting there and allowing those two to play with freedom, their whole game changes. They become more of an attacking threat and prowess in games, and we get goals from them as well as the likes of Wilson and Isak. Very excited to see what happens with Wilson and Isak next season. Wilson's had a phenomenal second half to the season. His contract's up soon. I'm pretty certain he will get a new deal. I'd be shocked if he doesn't. Will we sign another striker in the summer? I think we will, but I think it's gone from being maybe Wilson's replacement to Wilson's understudy. I don't think we'll go and sign a Harry Kane or an established number 9 out there in the world of European football. I think we're more likely to sign, maybe the young lad from Dortmund. Is it Mokoku or something like that? Would be amazing. I think people talk about Sesko as well, or is it Sheshko? But he's a fantastic footballer as well. But having that lack of experience in the Premier League, maybe he can learn from the likes of Wilson. Wilson's got another at least 1 or 2 good seasons in him, I think. Will he be as good next season as this season? We don't know. This has probably been the best season he's ever had in football since his Coventry days, funnily enough. But I do think that we'll have a young striker who's going to learn off the likes of him and Isak. I mean, Isak's only 22 or 23 or something himself, isn't he? So Isak's got all of his prime ahead of him, really. So, when Wilson does move on, maybe in that season or 2, Isak is the main man, and then the young lad is kind of learning off Isak as well. But yeah, it's really exciting times, and it's really exciting to see who we are going to be linked to, in the summer, and we'll be covering as many as we can on the rumour hazards as well. As Roger's saying there, yeah, Maddison is a very good player. That's without question. Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, we have to trust how Eddie would fit him in. If you can get a player of that quality for that price, because it will be a knockdown price. I read somewhere Leicester still wanting 50 million quid. I don't think you're going to get 50 million quid for the lad. You get about 40. And last year's contract, you can't afford his salary. They're going to take a massive financial hit, Leicester. They're already in trouble. Financially. So there's no way they're going to be able to swallow the wages of some of these players. I think they'll get raided as well. I think the likes of Dewsbury Hall, sounds like a National Trust side, but good player. Dewsbury Hall, I think that somebody will poach him away. Maddison will go. Obviously, Tillemans is going on a free. Is it Sionchu? I think it's already signed on pre-terms for somebody there. Is it Thomas, the young left back? He looks quite good as well. Harvey Barnes, someone will go and buy him. So they're going to lose a massive raft of those players of that squad. And you have to hope for Leicester they'll be able to make some shrewd signings and try and get himself back up. But I do worry for Leicester that we probably won't see them for another couple of seasons. I think it'll be rebuilding the championship for them, possibly the same with Leeds. Leeds have always had good youngsters coming through. That's always been a staple of Leeds for years and years. And I think that they might still have that coming through. I don't know much about their academy, but Leeds might save themselves from that. But I do think that Leicester could be in some big trouble. And the Scouse Mackhams, we've got to talk about them. I kind of believe they stayed up. I did say when they got Dyche and Stone Cold Sean Dyche that he probably would keep them up. And that's exactly what he's done. They've stayed up by the skin of their balls, really, in all fairness. But as Lee says there, They'll not be getting points dropped. Now, they should do because of the way that they've pissed all over financial fair play, to be fair. I think they should do. Makes a mockery of financial fair play. If they don't get punished for that, then what is the point in us playing by the rules? We might as well just go spend like a motherfucker and just sign as many players as we can at the top of the tree and screw FFP, because they're never going to come back in there and do us all, really. So Kevin saying there, Tierney looks a strong possibility. This has been a very, very strong link, to be fair, about Kieran Tierney. He's not getting his game at Arsenal. Very good player. He's got Champions League experience, from his Celtic days as well, European experience with Arsenal and Europa. He's only 26 still very much at the prime of his career. A very good player, good at going forward, good in defence. Lives, obviously, he'd be closer to home in terms of Glasgow if he came here as well. So, I can definitely see that happen as well. So, I wouldn't be surprised if the Tierney thing does come off. Joe Linton's been called up to the Brazilian squad, Andy, just to let you know there, mate, if no one's put that comment in, which is great. First senior cap for him, which is absolutely brilliant, to be fair. Just scrolling down the list here. See when the comments are in there. Yeah, you're right. I like Dyche as well, Kev, but I absolutely hate Everton, and he said Arsenal there. Arsenal won 5-0 today. Bit late now, lads, isn't it? Roger's saying 2.5 weeks until it all kicks off. Transfer window excitement. Absolutely, mate. It will be all over the rumour has it, Roger, as you know, mate. Loads of chats and stats. Mark's already started firing up the stat computer. Yeah, you're absolutely right, George. Let's just get rid of this. Let's get rid of this knacker in the spams, mate. Good shout. Keep me right, George. Top man, mate. I don't even know what the fuck he was saying, to be honest with you, mate. I didn't even read it. It was just distracting me a little bit as I was scrolling down there. But I should say nobody's lost fewer games than us this season. Man City and us both on 5. And that's fantastic, that really. It's brilliant. It's just a reminder just of what a phenomenal job that Eddie Howe has done. And everybody else as well, the players and the backroom staff, and Jason Tyndall. Can't forget Jason Tyndall, the mad dog himself. So that would be, everyone should pat themselves on the back. And it's just a really exciting season. I think we've all enjoyed watching Newcastle this season. I think, from where we were last season, I don't think any of us, not a single one of us, could have predicted that the club would be, everyone who said top four were probably just saying it as a bit of a throwaway comment, really never actually thinking it was gonna ever happen. That's a great start, Lee. I remember when we couldn't win for toffee down south, couldn't we? Every time we went to London, we just kind of capitulated, mate. Just to say we're still unbeaten down in London is unbelievable, mate. Absolutely unbelievable. It really, really is. A comment there from Andy. If you could choose 3 players to sign for next season, who would you go for? Oh, that's a great question, mate. That's a good question for asking the rest of the guys as well. I think for me, if I could sign 3 players, I would sign. So I think I'd sign Diaby as the right winger. I would sign. I want a left back. So I think I would either say, Cancelo apparently has been linked to us. They'd be an unbelievable left back to bring in, wouldn't he? If we could get Cancelo, hands down Cancelo, but realistically, probably Tierney. And then I would go for that defensive midfielder. And you know who I really fancy? I really fancy Caicedo from Brighton. I really do. I think I love the scrap he was having with Joe Linton at St James Park, even though we battered them. I think if you put him in behind Bruno and Joe Linton, I think he would just fit in there perfectly, absolutely perfectly. Got a comment there from Ash. He says Tierney, Szoboszlai, and then Agati. Agati's a great shout as well, mate, but I'm not sure whether we could get him. Maybe he'll have his eyes on what he thinks of bigger clubs. I would love Caicedo from Brighton. I really would. He's I know a little bit of a shithouse move with the old. Thought he was moving to Arsenal, but if we could get him, I think he'd be a fantastic sign. He's only about 22-year-old, I think, or something like that. So still a young lad, loads of time ahead of him as well. So I'm going to say that. That would be a hell of a signing. I didn't say Maddison there, did I? Yeah. So all the guys in the pod think I'm obsessed with Maddison. Not at all. We've got William in the comments there. He's saying Szoboszlai, Agati, and Todibo. Yeah, they'd be great signings as well. John saying Leicester will have one of the best training facilities in Europe. Brand new players, pampered with every need met. Just shows new training ground doesn't correlate to better results on the pitch. Yeah, you're totally right, mate. I think you're right. It's they invested a lot of money, Leicester. You got to remember, this is a team that won the Premier League, 5 or 6 years ago. And to see how far they fell is just incredible, really, really is. My heart goes out to the Leicester fans, because the Leicester fans are good guys, they're good girls. They're not a pompous, arrogant fan base. They've spent a lot of time in the lower leagues. They've built themselves back up. They've come up. They've had fairy tale finishes and stories, and they've enjoyed their football so much over the last few years, winning the league and pushing for top 4 and stuff like that. And it's really sad for the Leicester fans. I do spare a thought for them going through what they're going today, but again, likes of Everton hanging around, horrible fan base, really, in the main. I know there's some of them will be fine, I think we're seeing some people come in the comments and, yeah, nice Everton fans, but a lot of the Everton fans are just have this horrible, arrogance about them that they seem to think they've got a divine right to be pushing to that end of the table. And they just feel the need to stick the knife into every other fan base out there. So yeah, I can't believe I have to put up with these fucking knackers for another season. But hopefully they'll get deducted loads of points and then they'll go down next season. Johnson, keeping us humble and hungry is the key. Absolutely, mate. I couldn't agree more. I think Leicester and Southampton will go straight back up, says Kev, not showing Leeds though. Yeah, the Saints are an interesting one. Again, they're another team who's always had really good youth coming through the ranks for years now. I mean, you look at that even the signings used to make the scout mechanism. Half of their team was playing for Liverpool at one point. So yeah, I do think that Southampton, if they can bring through some really talented young players, they'll do really well. I know Walcott said that he's not playing for Southampton anymore. I think he's signed off now and said that's him done. I mean, I think Walcott's been done for years, to be brutally honest with you. But it's a shame he didn't stay and try and get them up, but maybe it's a wage thing. These guys don't want to take any pay drops, do they? Even though they get relegated. Still want to take any pay drops. Sensible saying Maddison transfer value just dropped by 10 million. 100%, mate, 100%. And for Maddison, I think we're the best game in town from. If we're in from and Spurs are in from, it's a no-brainer. No-brainer, mate. Doesn't matter if you want to go fucking Soho or not, mate. You got to think about your career. Actually saying that the way that they treated Claudio Ranieri, I'm glad they went down. If he did that Newcastle, he'd get a statue. Yeah, it's not too wrong, mate. It's not too wrong. But football's like that. It's fickle as fuck, mate. You win a league, win a cup, you go down. Look at the way Chelsea sack managers, for fun, really, when they won doubles. Everton disguised on the pitch, end of the game. Yeah, absolutely, mate. Just, yeah. I think they made a massive scene, didn't they, with blue flares and all sorts of nonsense, really. Kev was saying, final score was bad today. It was all Everton, this, Everton, that. Yeah, you're right, mate. I don't even bother with those kind of things. You have these clubs that are media darlings and they talk about them way too much. I think even when we drew with Leicester the other night and got in the Champions League, they did a bit on us. But then they spoke about Man City, on Sky. I was off doing the post-match in here anyway, so I didn't hear. But people were saying they were talking about Man City in the comments, so it had nothing to do with nothing really in that game. But just saying, Leicester's finance not started really bite them next season. I think they will. I'm no Kieran Maguire, financial expert, which we've had on this show before. He's the top man and knows his onions. But yeah, I think their wage bill and everything else that goes with it, I think they could be in big trouble. They're going to have to jettison a lot of players off of that wage bill. I'd like to see Vardy stay with them in the Championship, though, and I really think that he could have a good season in the Championship. His legs are gone for the Premiership, but the Championship he might be able to bash in 15 to 20 goals and get them up, and maybe retire. And as a mate of mine said, he has to pay his wife's legal fees, so maybe we'll have to hang around and play in the Championship for a season. Kev said, how much would Maddison's transfer be slashed by? I think 10 million is probably about right. I think Kev just answered that before there, mate. So got to pull us up from George. The chicken is cooking good in the oven, cooking on gas like Eddie Howe here. Look, Eddie Howe chickens. I love it, George. Absolutely love it, mate. But I think that's me pretty much ready to wrap up, guys, for this post-match review. What a season it's been. What an accomplishment it's been for this football club. And just for you guys and everybody who's jumped into the post-match comments and helped it flow like you do. Very, very appreciative, certainly from me as well. It's normally me that does all of these ones, and I love it. It really helps me write. It helps me kind of tick along with it. I love to engage with you guys. We're not like some other channels who just ignore you in the comments. We always like to hear what you guys have got to say and try and cater what we're talking about around you guys. But this has been a phenomenal season. It really has. Mark and I won't be back for the traditional what's going on Monday. Keep your eyes out the channel, though, guys. At the normal time, we will have a little video going up. It won't be live, just to pre-warn you. We are off to an event to hear about transfers. So, yeah, we'll keep you posted on that as well when we come back. But we'll try and be back on Wednesday with our end of season award show as well. But again, brilliant season by the lads. Great way to finish it in the top 4. How the lads. Can't wait for Champions League next season and the transfers as well. Thank you, George. Keep it right. Like the video if you can. Help the channel grow. We've had a phenomenal year ourselves as evermore. Again, thank you to all you guys. Thank you to our brilliant sponsors, WFST as well. Really appreciate all the support and love that those guys give us as well. As I mentioned at the start, If you want to subscribe, please do so. Click that button. Come and join us. Loads of room for you at Evermore. We're growing every single week and every single month as well. And yeah, thank you, Sensible. I'm really looking forward to the Champions League coverage as well. I might have to draft in some of the other lads to do the Premier League previews, or I'll be getting told off by the missus. I think I'll be on that much, mate. But have a great evening, guys. Enjoy your bank holiday weekend, and we will catch you next time on Evermore. See you, everybody. Take it easy.